So now that we have our parameters established, we'll go ahead and start our sketch. To do that, we'll come over here to Create Sketch. And we have to choose what plane to sketch on. So currently we have three existing planes. We have the top plane, the front plane, and the side plane. And we'll start our box by sketching on the front plane. I'm gonna start with the rectangle that's the front tool compartment rectangle. So I will come down to the sketch toolbar and select rectangle. I'm going to use a center point rectangle. In the future, I can type in R and it'll directly snap to the rectangle tool. Now the pointer, we have to select a point to start from. I'm going to select the origin because it's automatically going to give me a constraint to the origin. So I left click, pull out my rectangle, and then left click again to place it. Now I'll hit escape to get out of the rectangle tool. And if you'll notice, the perimeter of the rectangle is blue, which means it's undefined. We're going to go ahead and define it. Now we can define it using constraints, or we can define it using dimensions. So I'm going to go ahead and use dimensions. I'll go to the sketch toolbar. Down at the bottom, you'll find sketch dimension. And I will select this bottom line. Now this is going to be the length, the overall length of the box. So I'll use our parameter LE, length. Enter. We'll zoom out a little bit using the scroll wheel. And then I'll define this edge as it's the height of our tooltip. So now everything's black. We have a fully defined sketch. Nothing can really move anymore. I'll hit escape to get out of the dimension tool. Now I want to draw the rectangle that's going to be the partition that is our handle. So I'll go ahead and type R on the keyboard for rectangle. And the default rectangle is a point-to-point, two-point rectangle. And we can modify that over here in our sketch palette. You can select any of these, but I'm going to keep it on the 2-point rectangle, and I will select down here on the bottom line. It will snap to it. Left click, bring it up. Left click again. And now I just need to define it to let it go black. I want it to also have to be defined by the center. So what I'll do is create a construction line, and I'll use this origin point to snap to. If I come up here, when you see this triangle, it means I'm at the center point of the line. You'll notice that the line I just created is not perpendicular. I want it to be vertical up and down. So we have a tool over here, a horizontal vertical constraint. It will select that, select the line. I could have also selected a perpendicular constraint, be perpendicular between these two lines. Now I want this to be a construction line, so I'll select the line, come over here, select construction. Now it's a construction line. Now I still need to define the height, so I'll type dimension, or D on the keyboard for dimension. And you notice I selected this line, so it's going to give me the overall dimension. I want a dimension in D from here to this line. I want that to be my driving dimension, and I'm going to have that at 3 inches. And now the rectangle can still move in and out, but it's symmetrical. It's locked to the center. So I need to give it a couple more dimensions or constraints. So what I'll do is I'm going to use dimensions. I'll dimension from here to here. And I want that to be 3 1/4. So now we're fully defined on our two rectangles. The last element I want to add in is going to be the cutout for the handle up in here. So I'll go to my sketch toolbar and select the slot tool. And I want to use a center slot. I'll left click roughly where I want it, drag it over, left click again, drag it down, left click one last time, enter. And now I just need to define our slot here. So I'll use D for dimension to dimension the radius here. I want to have a 1/2 inch radius. I'd like to have the dimension from the top of the handle to be 1/2 inch as well. And now I need to define where it sits in here. So I can use another center line and draw it up here, or I can define the two outside edges. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a dimension constraint. So it will go from the center to the edge. Now I want that to be, say, 2 inches. And I'll do the same thing over here. Now, instead of typing in 2, I want that to be, these two to be the same. So if I just select previously, any dimension out here, it will drop it into here, into our toolbar. We get a little FX, so it's driven. And when we modify this, it automatically modifies this dimension. So hit escape, everything's fully defined. I'll go ahead and save at this point.